Hello, everyone. I'm delighted to welcome you to this special session at UDC 2025. We have a very, very special, exciting guest with us here today. 워낙 특별한 게스트를 모신 터라서 제가 여러분들에게 조금 다소 부담스러울 수 있을 정도의 에너지를
I would like to give you the kind of energy that might be a bit overwhelming to you all, but then I hope that you're not overwhelmed and let us all give a big cheer. So here he is.
Now, I get the honor to introduce someone who really doesn't need any introduction. But if I'm going to do it anyway, then I might as do it properly. Joining us live, Executive Vice President of the Trump-Organization, the man who oversees iconic real estate projects, luxury hotels, legendary golf courses, and in recent years has become a leading voice in the world of digital assets. For the very first time, speaking directly to the Korean blockchain community, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the one and only Eric Trump. Woo!
Thank you, SJ. Thank you.
Eric, you probably can't hear it enough through the screen, which is why you have to be here next year or any in near future. But trust me, this room is full of energy, excitement, and all the cell phones pointed at you. So would you like to say hello to them?
Oh, I can't wait, SJ. And by the way, I do hear the excitement in the room. I hear the applause. I want you to know that America loves Korea. The Trump family loves Korea. We love you all. And I promise SJ, I promise you. I was just over in Hong Kong last week. I was over in Japan. I promise you next year I'm going to be in Korea with all of you guys at that conference, and I give you my word. So I can't wait to see you guys all in person, and we'll be over there together very soon. But we love the country. We love the people. I have so many dear Korean friends, and SJ is becoming a very, very close, near and dear friend, and honor to get to know her so well. And this is truly an amazing company. It's a company that we know very well, we work with every day, and so SJ, thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. So as you know, I'm in charge of branding and social impact and also major conferences like this one, which is why I'm all the more thrilled to be your moderator today. So Eric, let's get started. And by the way, we're going to take you up on your word that you will be here in person soon, yeah?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's begin. We'd like to ask you to share your thoughts on digital assets in finance and business, trends and global and future vision. Eric, for the next 15 minutes, the floor is all yours.
Oh, wow. You know what? I could probably take up SJ. I could probably take up the next 2 hours doing it. You know, the digital assets have become the most explosive category, I think, of any investment in the world over the last several years. I mean, you look at all the biggest digital assets, and they're doing incredible. You look at the exchanges, they're doing incredible. And you look at the trends around the world. I mean, the top families, the top Fortune 500 companies, they're all running toward digital property, digital assets. It's going to be a new way of banking. It's going to be a new way of actually holding value on your balance sheets. And every company is running toward it. And the people in this room are probably saying, hey, Eric, why? Why? You've always been a real estate family. By the way, SJ, I think you know very well, we've got 6 buildings in Seoul, which you know very well, Trump World, some great buildings. We did them a long time ago, and that's what I've done my entire life. I've built great buildings, and it's what my father's done, it's what my grandfather did, it's what my great-grandfather did. We were all in the real estate world, and if you were to ask me 5 years ago, I would have never, ever for a second thought for 1 second that we would have been in the space of digital assets. I wouldn't have necessarily believed in them. I wouldn't have, quite frankly, understood them. I wouldn't have had an open mind to them because we were hard asset people. If you couldn't touch it, if you couldn't feel it, we were always the people that didn't think it existed. And then all of a sudden, my father got into politics, and he had this great movement. It was called Make America Great Again. And it was controversial in a lot of ways, right? It was very politically incorrect in certain ways. And he spoke from his heart. And all of a sudden, we had banks in the United States and we had banks all over the world that were trying to cancel us. They were trying to strip our accounts. And these are for the best residential buildings in the world, the best commercial buildings in the world, the best hotels, the assets that we do better than anybody. I know so many of the people in this conference have probably been in our buildings. I bet there are people in this conference who live in our buildings. And all of a sudden, you'd have Bank of America and you'd have JP Morgan and you'd have all these companies that wanted to cancel our family. And the reason they wanted to cancel us because of political pressure from other administrations, and they got away with it. And what was interesting is during the same time, SJ, the same people who were canceling us, who were canceling me, who were trying to take bank accounts away from golf courses and things, were also going after the very people in your room. They were going after the crypto community, the people who believe that modern day finance could be so much better than kind of traditional banking system, that you see right now. All around the world, we have this system. It's called the SWIFT wire system, right? It's how you pay vendor to vendor. It's how you pay country to country. If I'm trying to get a wire on a Friday afternoon, I have to send it out before 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday. And if I do that, it probably won't hit the recipient's account until Monday or Tuesday. And I kind of laugh at this, right? I mean, as you start to really dig into crypto, why is it that a wire transfer can't go through on a Saturday or on a Sunday or a weekend? Why can't it go through after business hours? And you start asking these questions and you start to understand how antiquated finance is at just a very basic level. In the United States, you could wait 90 to 120 days to get a residential mortgage for a house. From a bank, by the way, SJ, that you banked with for the last 20 years of your life. Why is it that it takes 120 days? And what I came to realize through kind of the weaponization of government is I wanted to be part of fixing the problem. And that's what we're doing right now. But I started meeting the most incredible people, the smartest people in the world who are focused on crypto from all over the world, who wanted to modernize traditional finance. And the more you met them, the more brilliant you realized they were, and the more you could see the future of finance and how it's going to change drastically. And it has. I mean, I think my father has been a great catalyst to the entire world because he's always believed in cryptocurrency. He's always believed that banks could do it better, they could do it more efficiently, that the big banks were antiquated, that they haven't pushed technology forward in years. But what I came to learn very, very quickly is I don't think there's anything in the world in the financial space that can't be done better, cheaper, faster, safer, more transparently than what we're doing in this kind of crypto revolution right now. And you're seeing that every single day. I mean, right now I could open up a wallet, I could open up a Bitcoin wallet, and I could transfer unlimited amount of money across the globe right this second, and it could hit SJ's wallet in 1 second, in 2 seconds, in 3 seconds with virtually no transaction fees. Try and do that through the modern financial system where all of a sudden you're trying to do currency conversions, you're trying to change the US dollar into the yen or whatever currency, any currency, the euro, you name the currency around the world. You have to find a bank. They take currency conversion fees. There's FX fees on top of that. There's banking fees. All of a sudden, your money is getting diluted. And by the way, it's not actually an efficient process. You have to find a local branch, and then you need to make sure the customer on the opposite side has a bank account. Crypto eliminates all of that. Crypto, it's going to be the rails for the financial institution. The speed of execution is going to be so much faster, so much quicker, so much safer. It's all obviously on chain, which means it's 100% transparent. It's all written in smart contracts on blockchain, meaning that people can't weaponize the system. And that's so important. I mean, America is one of the greatest democracy. It is the greatest democracy anywhere in the world. But you look at so many nations. I mean, think about Zimbabwe. Think about so many of these places where you have 1,000, 2,000, 5,000% inflation every year. You have some guy who goes to work, he gets a paycheck, and that paycheck, you may as well light it on fire because the money's gone because of inflation, because of corruption, because of bad government policies, because of fraud, because of waste, because of so many other problems. Now, all of a sudden, if that person has one of these, if they have a phone, this becomes their wallet. This puts them on the US dollar. This puts them on any currency that they believe in. All of a sudden, they can go out, they can buy Bitcoin, they can buy Ethereum, they can buy USD1, which is our stable coin, which I've been working on, very hard. It's the fastest growing stable coin. It's under World Liberty Financial. They can buy any of these instruments at any time. It gives them financial freedom around the world, but it also allows them to transact cross borders instantly and virtually for free, right? I mean, the fees are so minuscule versus what traditional banking fees are, especially when you start putting in foreign exchange. Now, all of a sudden, if you wanted to borrow, you can borrow against your holdings that are in those wallets, and you can do so seamlessly. You can do so instantly. So for the first time, instead of waiting for 90 days for a loan application to go through, you know what you do? You pick up your phone, you have a certain amount of assets in there, and you borrow against them. You do so in a smart contract. And so if the value of your collateral dips slightly, then that's fine. They'll have some coverage ratio, and they might have to sell off a few percent. All the while, you can get the appreciation of that asset. So if you have $100,000 in Bitcoin, or you have $1 million in Bitcoin, well, you can lend against the Bitcoin. You can go buy your dream asset, your home with your husband and wife. You can see the appreciation over here. You can obviously have the appreciation of the lifestyle over here, or the house you're going to buy, or the business you're going to start. And that's a beautiful thing. In the US, you do that. It's actually a very tax efficient way of doing it, because now all of a sudden you're not selling an asset and paying tax only to go buy another asset. You're borrowing off of it, and debt in the United States and so many countries around the world is treated as tax-free. And so now you're maintaining one asset. In the case of Bitcoin, an asset that's been going up, 50, 60, 70% every single year. So you get to see the appreciation of that asset, while at the same time being able to instantly withdraw your money to go use on the startup of a new business, or buying a new home, or the lifestyle, or whatever choice you have. And at the same time, you're able to buy and transact in currencies that work on a 24/7 market, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. On Saturday night, if you want to transact, you can do so while having dinner with your husband or your wife. You're no longer limited to 9 to 5 banking hours, Monday through Friday. All of a sudden, cryptocurrency opens up a whole new world. And I learned this, and I learned it through, honestly, the weaponization of government here in the United States, and meeting some brilliant people who wanted to transform the digital asset space. And I've never seen something more powerful. I've never been more certain about anything in my life. When we fast forward 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, certainly 5 and 10 years, you're going to see a landscape that is totally different. And by the way, that's why the big banks in the United States, that's why the big banks in Europe, that's why the big banks in Asia, they're petrified. They're petrified of what's coming. And at first, they didn't know what to do. At first, they ignored cryptocurrency. They ignored digital assets. And now they can't ignore it anymore, because we've become too powerful. The people in this room and the people listening around the world believe in this technology too much. And so what's happening is the banks are starting to embrace it. So you look at JP Morgan, the biggest bank in the United States, guess what they're doing? They're creating digital asset wings. Every day they're creating digital asset products. And for the first time, they're leaning into it. You look at Charles Schwab, you look at Fidelity, you look at Bank of America, you look at the biggest financial institutions. You go to Canada, you look at, TD, you look at UBS that's starting to, look at embracing digital assets. And they realize that they either embrace these digital assets, or they're going to get left behind. And they're going to get left behind by Upbit, and they're going to get left behind by Coinbase, and they're going to get left behind by Binance, and they're going to get left behind by all the biggest exchanges in the world, and by all of us who realize that the antiquated system that they've been running for so long kind of no longer works. And so it's the greatest honor of my life to be involved in this industry. I've always been a real estate guy. We built the best buildings and hotels and golf courses on planet Earth. I told SJ I'd make a little bit of a soft announcement here tonight, but I think you're going to see our name in Korea again very, very soon on the real estate side. We're looking at a couple really big opportunities, and I couldn't be more excited, because we love the country and we love the people. But equally as exciting is the digital asset space, because I'm telling you, there's nothing that's growing faster. There's nothing more dynamic. The brains are in this space right now, and we're on the 1 yard line. People ask me all the time, okay, Eric, you have one of the best Bitcoin companies in America, right? You just listed on the NASDAQ. Isn't it too late? And I say, guys, it's not too late. I think it's the earliest stage you can possibly imagine. I mean, right now, this is when digital assets are finally outside of decentralized finance, outside of DeFi. They're finally being able to touch the masses in a way that's never ever been seen before. And I think we're on the 1 yard line, and I think we have so much latitude and so much room ahead of us. We have such tremendous upside potential. As I said at the beginning of this conference, right now cryptocurrency is growing faster than the growth of the internet, if you can possibly believe it. And we're on the 1 yard line. And so, SJ, I've never been more honored to be in an industry. I've been speaking all over the world. And I want to leave this kind of opening part with this. The biggest families in the world are buying digital assets. Bitcoin, Ethereum, World Liberty, USD1, and frankly, a bunch of other ones. But the biggest assets the biggest families in the world, the biggest corporate entities in the United States, Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 100 companies, are buying digital assets. They're buying Bitcoin and they're hoarding it and they will not let it go. The sovereign wealth funds are buying digital assets. The biggest families in the world, the biggest royal families in the world, they're buying digital assets. People, individuals who want financial freedom are buying these assets. And, in the case of Bitcoin, they're very, very scarce, only 21 million. Never will you have another one that's created. And that's an incredibly powerful tool. And every single day, people see the price go up and up. And they want it to go back down so they can possibly get in. And I tell people, get into the digital asset space because otherwise it's going to leave you behind. It's the technology of our time. We're on the front end of a digital revolution. I think America is leading the way because you have a president who believes in it and you have a president who understands it and you have a cabinet. And I think that's really good for the rest of the world because I think it takes bold leadership to step in and write the rules and set the parameters. And I think it makes it a lot easier for a lot of other countries to follow. I know Vietnam, I've been watching it very closely, and we've got a bunch of projects in that country, a couple of hotels and golf courses that we're building. And about 2 months ago, they wanted nothing to do with digital assets. And then all of a sudden, they've been watching what America is doing. And it seems like in the last 4 to 6 weeks, their entire tune has changed in terms of their stance on digital assets. I was just in Hong Kong at the Bitcoin conference. There were 20,000 people in that room, 20,000. You couldn't see the end of the conference hall. I'm sure some of the people in this room were there. And it's amazing. I mean, it's truly, truly amazing to see how it's being embraced in Asia. Asia loves digital assets, and they're certainly following suit. And obviously, in terms of Korea, you have so much passion. You have so much love for the digital space. It's one of the biggest in the world. In fact, I think it's second behind the United States right now. Obviously, what you're doing, SJ, and your wonderful company in this conference is incredible. As you know, World Liberty Financial is listed. Our token is listed on on the exchange. So go out and buy World Liberty. I think what we're doing on that side of the equation, we can certainly talk more about in a minute, is beyond. We're redefining what finance will be globally, and I'm incredibly proud of that project. And it's exciting things. I mean, again, the growth of this industry in the next 12, 18 months is going to be explosive. And the next decade is going to be, we're going to look back and say we were the pioneers of rewriting modern finance. And I couldn't be more proud to be on the front end of that.
Eric, you touched upon a whole variety of important factors here. And let me sit. Now you're going to be able to see me on face. And we're going to start digging deep and touching upon the points you have just mentioned. So let's see if you can see me. The
I
tech
can see
is
you.
working. Can you see
You're
me?
doing great.
Okay, I can't see me. But I can see. Okay, good. I think we're good now. So, Eric, when people hear the name Trump, they normally would think real estate and politics. Now, hearing your speech, and of course following you on YouTube and everywhere, I certainly think we need to, when we hear the name Trump, now with you especially, we should think about crypto. So to talk about me a little bit, I come from a very traditional finance family, and I'm the first one to bring crypto into the family. My father was Korea's finance minister once, and he's as traditional finance as you can imagine. So we're taking super baby steps here. I was only able to get him on the Upbit app yesterday, literally yesterday. So compared to your father, who's so much ahead, my dad is still very, very behind. So I wanted to ask you this. In your family, Eric, in the Trump family, who was the first one to take crypto really seriously and understand the value of it? Was it you or your brother Don Jr., or was it your father, Mr. President?
Well, I'll give you two great stories. I'll never forget getting a call from my father, and he was invited to speak at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville. And he called me up. He goes, what do you know about Bitcoin? I know you like the digital asset space. And I said, listen, I think it's one of the great assets of our time. I'm a full believer. And my father went and he spoke at the conference. And when he went on that stage, people went crazy. They applauded SJ for 10 minutes. And honestly, the love that he felt was something really incredible. But the second thing, we did an NFT a couple years ago, and the NFT was incredibly successful. I'm sure there are people in the room that have the Trump NFT. And I'll never forget, and truthfully, this is my fault. I forgot about the money in a wallet, and a lot of it was invested in Ethereum. And Ethereum went from 1,000 to 1,200 to 2,000 to 2,500 to 3,000. And one day we looked down at the wallet and we realized we 3 or 4x'd our return just by leaving it there. And we said, wow, there's really something there, right? I mean, you have an asset that people love. You have an asset that people believe in. You have a community that's really incredible. And so I think it was two aspects, right? And then the third aspect was we weren't given any choice. We were debanked by everybody due to no reason other than politics. And so all of a sudden we started looking at alternative means of finance, and we fell in love with the crypto space and the digital asset space, realizing that, as I touched on before, there's nothing that the big banks, either in Seoul or in New York City or in London or anywhere around the world. Why is it that JP Morgan Chase has 100 buildings around the world? They're all 70 stories. They're all filled with thousands of people. What are they doing in those buildings that can't be done better, faster, more transparently, cheaper, easier in a digital format, right? And so you start to realize the power of digital assets and digital currency. And so I think I was the first one in our family that really went down the rabbit hole and really started understanding all aspects of it. My father believed in it instantly, right? Because I think it's common sense that this is where technology is going. It's common sense that banking, you can go to a supermarket 24 hours a day, but you can't wire, money if you want to buy a house. It doesn't make any sense. Traditional finance is so antiquated. And I think my father saw that from the outset. And he saw a community that believed. He saw a community of incredibly brilliant people. And he saw a community of people that were being targeted all across the globe, all because they were kind of brilliant, right? Now, what crypto was missing, and I gotta beat up on crypto for a second. What crypto was missing is, for the first several years, they didn't have any good spokespeople, right? I mean, it's beautiful, SJ, that you came out of traditional finance. I came out of traditional finance. My entire life was traditional finance. It's who we are. We're hard asset people and always were. And so it took certain people. It took people like you. It took people like me. It took people like Donald Trump, right? It took people really diving in and understanding how the world can work. It also took people realizing that the conventional banking system was broken in other ways. In the United States, if you deposit $1 million in a bank, they only have to keep $100,000, right? And most countries are worse than that. We have one of the highest standards of banking anywhere in the world, the highest standard of banking in the world. But so effectively, you deposit $1 million of your money, and the bank only keeps $100,000. They only keep 10%, and they can play with your money. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'd much rather own $1 million worth of Bitcoin, where I actually own that $1 million worth of Bitcoin, where it can't be taken away from you, it can't be squandered, the bank can't fail, the bank can't be subject to fraud, you can't have a crooked government as you do in so many countries around the world. I think that's true financial freedom. And by the way, you can either own it in CeFi, or you can own it in a ledger on DeFi, or you can own it through a great exchange like you have. To me, that's much closer to financial freedom. And it's only when they started targeting our family that I really kind of grasped the concept of what so many people around the world were dealing with. And so I think the short answer is I was the one who probably dove in hardest. My father was a guy who believed on day one, long before he won the election, long before he became president, he believed in digital assets. And ever since then, we've only become more passionate and have dug deeper into our conviction as to the future of cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, no. So I mean, I was going to ask you this second question, but it's all related to the first question because your father's first term, he didn't really particularly seem interested or focused on digital assets at all. And then after 4 years away from the White House, he's completely all in. And I can hear you that you guys were debanked and the Nashville conference and everything. But what really, I mean, was it just that, or was it more than sort of, being debanked, and were there other sort of like philosophical reasons? Well, I hear you, you understand, and your family and Trump president understands it's faster, easier, more transparent, all of the good things about it. But what happened during the 4 years? What else other than what you just talked about, if there's any?
Well, if you go back 8 years, SJ, it was impossible to buy cryptocurrency, right? And again, this is where I'm going to beat up the industry. It was obviously so young, it was so new. I mean, the people who were playing in the digital asset space were the computer wizards. It was tough. When I first got into this, I'm going to make everybody laugh for a second, but I would try and play in DeFi, and I had a ledger, and I would go into MetaMask, and I would link MetaMask to Aave, and then you're trying to loop funds, you're trying to loop Ethereum, and you have to get, gas, you need to make sure there's enough Ethereum for gas fees so that you could transfer one currency to the next. And it was a disaster. I'll never forget sitting there for an entire day, right? And I'm a pretty busy guy, I run a big portfolio, because a browser extension on my laptop wasn't allowing MetaMask to communicate with Aave as I was, really trying to dive into DeFi. And I'm sitting there saying, listen, I'm a smart guy. I went to one of the best schools anywhere on earth. I run a really big company. I've got every tech resource available to me if I need it. And if I'm having a tough time, no one else is going to get through this process, right? The population that can figure this out is so minuscule. I think what's happened is between kind of 2016 when my father first got into office, and really 2020 to tell you the truth, and now, all of a sudden you have great exchanges. It's become hospitality's come into, and it's one of my major goals, but hospitality for the first time has come into cryptocurrency in a big way. You can go on great exchanges like yours. You can buy the digital assets of your choice. You can make investments. You can have fun. You can buy meme coins. You can buy utility coins. You can buy, you can obviously, buy stable coins tied to a currency that you like. You're seeing obviously the advent of stablecoins. It's become such a powerful, financial, tool all around the world, and that's growing at exponential kind of forces. So it wasn't that no one believed in digital assets. It's that the microcosm of people dealing in digital assets was so small, and I don't want to call it rogue because it wasn't. They were so far ahead of their time, but it was difficult. It was cumbersome. It was hard to transact. So much has transpired in the last 8 years and by the way, it's getting better every single day. The user interfaces are getting better, the exchanges are getting better, the regulations are getting better, the roadmaps are getting better. The industry is doing such a better job of self-policing itself for the first time. I won't stand for the guys who, there are certain guys who started in crypto who are maybe a little bit marginal, as we all know, and some of them are probably in prison now, or some of them are definitely. The industry has matured in a way where, it's people will go to a conference and they'll be dressed in a suit and tie. It's not all T-shirts. As much as we all have the crypto friends who are, who are in shorts and sandals and everything else, right? They're brilliant people, but all of a sudden you see two worlds collide. You see traditional finance, cryptocurrency, people who want to do it better, people who are great spokespeople for the industry. The advances and again, the hospitality, ease of use. And I think that's propelled the industry so much. I mean, even the advent in the last 2 years has propelled the industry in a big way. And so I think it's become more obvious and easier, especially for larger companies, to get into the space now than obviously it ever was before.
Yeah, no, I can certainly tell you that in this room, half of them are in their flip-flops and T-shirts. Half of them are in full suits. So I hear you. The world is coming together.
Coming together.
Yeah. No, but then would you say that for you and your family and your father, is crypto more than just finance and it's also about freedom and resilience?
It's absolutely about freedom and resilience. I mean, literally, I dealt with political forces where they wanted to take skyscrapers of ours in, democratic-controlled cities in the United States simply because they didn't want my father to win the White House. And listen, we have the greatest democracy in the world. No one can argue that. If it can happen in the United States, it can happen anywhere on Earth. And so I think the digital assets are financial freedom. I mean, people love gold. People for the last 100 years have owned gold. You know what the problem with gold is? It's heavy as hell. How do you travel with it? How do you move it, right? And so, crypto in a certain way has actually become the greatest hedge against real estate. It's become, you have assets, Trump Tower in New York, Trump Doral, the greatest golf courses on earth, our properties all over the world. They're amazing, and they accrete so much value. They grow so much year after year, and it's incredible. But what's the fundamental problem with real estate? Well, you can't move it. It's in one city. It can get hit by a fire or a flood or a monsoon or a tornado. If you have bad management, congratulations. It can go down the tube, right? A hotel poorly managed becomes a huge loss leader. Huge amounts of capex that go into maintaining those assets. Insurance, brokers, banks, interest expense. There's so many aspects to kind of true hard assets. If you look at that versus cryptocurrency, take Bitcoin, and I'm a big Bitcoin person. I think, we just launched a company on the NASDAQ. I mentioned it a minute ago called American Bitcoin. I think we're one of the biggest miners in the world and conglomerators, and we're doing a great job. But look at an asset like Bitcoin. You can transfer it, instant liquidity, anywhere on Earth, right? It's not subject to a city. It's not subject to a government. It's not subject to corruption. It doesn't need to be managed. It doesn't need to be taken care of. It can't burn down. It can't wash away. And so I really think cryptocurrency has almost become the great hedge to hard assets. So you have hard assets here and you have digital assets, and I think they're a wonderful complement, to one another. And it's just one of the reasons I love this space.
Great. No, so let's now talk a little bit about Asia and move the focus to this region, Asia and Korea. So your father has declared the US will become the capital of crypto. So now, looking at Asia and Korea, and you mentioned, thankfully, during your sort of talk, that Korea is just next to the US. That's how sort of large we have become. And so could you see Korea as the crypto capital of Asia? While you guys are being the capital of the world?
SJ, it comes down to a country's willingness to be a little bit different and to say yes, right? You go all around the world, and you have some cultures that love to say yes, and you have some cultures that love to say no, right? Europe, for instance, is a culture that loves to say no. They don't say yes to anything. They say no to absolutely everything. So I'm telling you, Europe is probably going to lose the race in the crypto, in the digital asset space. You also have, certain countries that have terrible power policies, Europe also being one of them. And guess what? For cryptocurrency, no different than AI, Europe will probably lose the AI race too. You know why? Because their power supply stinks. It's expensive. They rely on wind power. It's inefficient as hell, and it's never going to work. And so if I had a prediction, Europe's going to lose the crypto race, and they're going to lose the AI race, right? At the same time, you have other countries who really have leaned in a very big way. And I think Korea's doing it the best out of any country in Asia, by far. I think it takes a while. You talked about your father, traditional finance minister, right? A lot of the finance ministers, it's very hard to get them to a yes, right? They're government employees in so many places around the world. And I'm not saying this about Korea, just so many places around the world.
Yeah.
There's a reversion to safety, and they would much rather say no. The difference is they're just going to get left behind. Let me just be honest. They're going to get left behind, and they're going to get left behind by countries like the United States who are embracing cryptocurrency for everything it's worth. On two sides. One is kind of the store of value, right? The Bitcoins, the digital gold. The other is the utility. It's really what we're building at World Liberty, Financial. USD1 is a stable coin. there is no reason that we should ever use the SWIFT system again, and that's what we're trying to effectively make extinct. Why isn't every commodity traded on the U.S. dollar? It would make a lot of sense. So if you have a company that buys and sells oil every day, and there's trillions of dollars worth of oil purchases and sales every day, why aren't those commodities trading in an actual kind of currency, a digital dollar, where you send the money and it instantly hits the account on the other side? So guess what? They send it on a Friday afternoon after the close of business. You know what happens? They pick up 3 days of interest on billions of dollars worth of commodity exchanges. I mean, if you look at the biggest companies in the world, it's billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars across an ecosystem that gets saved just by not losing interest associated with having weekends off, having night times off, having holidays off, right? And it can transact quicker, faster, cheaper, more transparently, and instantly, and by the way, at virtually no fees. I mean, when I say no fees, I mean, American Bitcoin, the company I was telling you about before, they did a $200 million transaction. It got through in a matter of seconds, and they paid 60 cents to do the transaction. Had you done that through had you done that through Bank of America, had you done it through any major financial institution, they would have taken 3% of your money, and you would have been worse off. And by the way, it would have taken them 2 weeks to do after about 200 lawyers looked at the transaction. And so it's just really, it's amazing. And so what's going to happen is, this is going to happen whether or not countries like it or not. This is going to happen regardless of whether the traditional finance thinkers, open up to it now or not. You have countries that are sprinting very quickly. You have countries that are going to fall behind. No different than you have bankers, and major financial institutions that are leaning into cryptocurrency. You have ones that are taking the, slow, let's see what happens approach. The ones that are leaping into it are going to win the race. The ones that aren't are going to become extinct and fall out. And so, I think a lot of people are seeing that. So it's people's willingness to say yes. It's people's willingness to actually sit down and understand how it can be done better. Those people are going to win the race. And so, to all our friends in Korea, I encourage you to dive in. I encourage you to look at what America is doing. Because I can tell you there are certain parts of the world that are doing it really well. You're doing it really well, starting to do it really well. The Middle East is starting to do it really well. If you go to Abu Dhabi, if you go to Dubai, they're really leaning into digital assets in a very, very, very big way. They want to win that race as well. From what I saw in Hong Kong, 20,000 people at the Bitcoin conference. I couldn't see the end of the room. That's how many people were there to see me speak. They're starting to lean into it in a very big way as well. And I was just in Japan. I was at the MetaPlanet board meeting. I sit on an advisory board for MetaPlanet. It's an amazing company. And same thing, there's a lot of people in Japan love digital assets. Their government's not fully there, but they love it. And so it's just a matter of time. But the people who embrace it the quickest are going to win. The people who don't embrace it are going to lose. It's just that simple.
Yeah, no, for sure. You talked about 20,000 people being in Hong Kong. Well, this room has 1,000 just due to capacity of the building and the room itself. But I'm sure if we had opened it up to a bigger venue, which I will when you come to Korea next time, I'm sure we would have had more than 20,000 in the room. Korean Bitcoin, blockchain community is really, really active, and we definitely don't want to fall behind, sort of the examples that you've given. And so if you actually do recognize how active and how fast Korea is also moving and getting better on the crypto end, and sort of seeing the potential of Korea being the crypto capital of Asia, as the family wanting to make America the crypto capital of the world, don't you need a strong Asian partner from Korea?
We do, and I think we have it with you. USD1 is obviously listed, and obviously you have the World Liberty Token on the exchange, and we're doing unbelievably well. It's been one of the most fun things I've ever worked on in my life. It's been explosive, and I think it's doing very well on the exchange. If I do say.
Can you actually say the name of the exchange?
Huh?
Can
Up
you
it.
say the name of our exchange instead of just saying your exchange?
Up it. Up it.
Exactly,
No,
right?
you
I got it
you-
out
you
of
got-
him.
No, I've said it a couple times. You guys are incredible, and you're a major partner of World Liberty in Korea, and you guys are. I think what is it right now, SJ? I think you're number 4 in the world, if I remember right. Somewhere in there,
Yes,
4 or 5 in the
yes.
world. You're doing
Yeah,
incredible.
no,
and
we're
that's amazing.
depending on how you look at it, it can be number 2 sometimes in volume. We can be number 4. The most trusted exchange. So not just scale, but we're very transparent and secure and trustworthy. So a very good partner potential. Just keep that in mind.
Well, we're doing great things together, and I know the team at World Liberty absolutely loves you guys.
Perfect. So speaking of Korea, you actually mentioned that you have 6 buildings in Korea, and you actually did mention this to me before. But this is the perfect time for you guys. I mean, it was 20 years ago that you guys built those buildings here, and you were probably a kid. So now is the best time. Like, it cannot be better timing for you guys to come back to build something new. K-pop is all over the place, dominating the world. The K-movies and series are getting global awards. K-pop songs are sweeping Billboard charts. Korea is at the sort of like the center of interest globally. So do you have any, I mean, you kind of mentioned it a little bit, but do you have any plan to sort of like build something of Trump scale in Korea, which could even be sort of on the finance front backed by crypto?
How many people do you have in the room? You have about 1,000 people. So no one in the room is allowed. 1,000 people can keep a great secret, right?
Yeah.
Plus all the people watching.
Everyone
Yeah.
also watching online, wink, wink.
Yeah, wink, wink. It's a great. We're looking at something very, very closely in Korea. I can't tell you how many great Korean friends we have, how many Korean friends we have living in our buildings. Yeah, I mean, I was just coming into the company when that project was built, and so I want to put my own name on something in Korea. I love the people. We love the country. So many friends. All our buildings around the world have so many of the influential Korean families. And then obviously I see it with this. I see it with the love in the room. The reception that everybody there just gave me when you first announced me, I heard the thunderous applause and cheers. And so, guys, we love Korea. We love, America loves Korea. My family loves Korea. We will be there both in terms of the digital asset space and in terms of the hard real estate space, and we'll do so in a very meaningful way. And really the only catalyst is anything that we do in Korea has to be the best in the world. It's what we do on the real estate side, and we're very proud of it.
Well, so speaking of K-pop, I actually read in a recent Korean sort of newspaper article that you were given a K-pop signed CD, autographed CD, and you loved it. Do you have any favorite K-pop singer, song, K-movie, anything?
So I wish I had time to watch movies, SJ. We're joking about this before the conference, and she goes, how often do you watch the K-pop series on Netflix? And I go, I've launched 2 public companies in the last month. I launched a book yesterday. I run the largest real estate empire, one of the largest real estate private empires on Earth. We've got 26 projects around the globe that are being built, and my father's commander-in-chief, and I've got 2 kids at home and a lot of other things. I wish I had a little bit more time to watch it, but I promise I will be fully immersed in K-pop as soon as I come to Korea and we hang out together. I promise you, SJ. And by the way, I did get that CD. It was a beautiful gesture, and I was truly honored.
But you didn't know who they are.
Not really. I've got to be honest. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, but you get the idea. It sounds like you don't even have time for American pop songs.
I have very little time for pop songs.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the future a little bit, although we have already been talking about the future. So how do you envision the global digital economy evolving over the next 10 to 15 years? If we meet here in 2035, do you think we'll be still talking about Bitcoin or something entirely new?
Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin is going to be the greatest asset of our generation. I really do. It's why I believe in it so much. And again, it's why I stood up American Bitcoin. And right now we're mining a tremendous amount of Bitcoin. We're doing so at roughly 50 cents to the dollar of the asset, so roughly half price. We're mining Bitcoin. We're doing so every single day, and we're also accumulating, and it's been wonderful. I think Bitcoin is going to be something that we talked about for a long time, and that's because if you think about it, Bitcoin is the only asset in the world that is really listen. It can never. If gold went to $20,000 an ounce, Elon Musk would send a spaceship to Mars. We'd mine gold and we'd bring it back to the United States. There's always infinitely more supply. If gold ever went to $30,000 an ounce, you'd probably knock down the very room that you're sitting in, and you'd probably extract the little bits of gold that happen to be in the concrete in the columns, right? You can't do that with Bitcoin. Bitcoin will always be 21 million coins. Actually, a little bit less because people have lost coins over the years, and people are hoarding it. And so I think it's a great digital store of value that is, protected by unthinkable amounts of energy, including American Bitcoin. That's what we are. We mine about a little over 2% of the world's Bitcoin, and so I think it's an amazing asset. So I think we're going to be talking about, digital assets. I think on the other side, if you want to look at what we're doing at World Liberty, we're creating all the rails that modern finance is going to operate on, and I think you're going to have people that understand it, and I think you're going to have people that don't. I think you have a lot of people that understand, hey, you can wire money, right? I also think that a lot of those same people don't understand how the process works and how the money gets from point A to point B. Crypto is going to be the same way. The more kind of opaque in a certain way it is, the more user-friendly it is, the more people will just interact with it, right, without actually realizing what they're doing. Right now, you text message somebody. You don't know how the technology works, but it helps your every single day life. It makes your life more convenient. It makes your life better. It makes your life faster, right? It makes transmission of thoughts and ideas and plans and family gatherings. It makes it better. Crypto is going to do the same thing, and so much of that's going to be behind the scenes where people don't need to be a tech genius to have it be able to influence their everyday life. And so you're going to have two parts of this. You're going to have a part that exists very much, but you're going to have a part that really improves livelihoods of people all over the world. And let me just, SJ, add this to it. Financial freedom is very delicate in the world. There are so many people. You take out the top 10 countries in the world, the top 15 countries in the world, and people don't have a damn chance. And it's sad. It's sad. The people that really benefited off of the current financial system, you know who they were? They were people like us who had a lot of zeros at the end of their name, that had tremendous wealth. I could call up the head of any of those banks and I could say, listen, I want better loan terms. I want this financing. I want to go buy this building. Give me a loan for this building. I need you to overextend me over here. I need you to do me a favor. And guess what? You take them to the Super Bowl, or you take them to some sports game, or you take them to a K-pop concert, or whatever it was that day, right? And they were happy and you were happy. That didn't benefit the little guy. That didn't benefit the person who was working 90 hours a week, all while there was such bad inflation in their country that instantly when they finished their work, they got their paycheck, it effectively disappeared into thin air because inflation just made their very currency worthless. Now all of a sudden, guess what? That same person, they can work the 90 hours and they can put it into the US dollar, or they can buy Ethereum, or they can buy Bitcoin, or they can buy ABTC, or they can buy USD1 or stablecoin, instantaneously on their phone. Guess what? Those people finally have financial freedom, and I think that's a beautiful thing. I think it actually creates homogeneity across everybody in the world, and I think, so not only is it going to make life better, not only is it going to make user experience better, but it's going to give billions of people around the world financial freedom that they never had before.
Yeah, no, I was actually going to sort of ask you at some point, what kind of message would you like to give to this sort of the ones who are still skeptical about crypto, but I think you've sort of said it all. Since we have that message from you, I kind of wanted to sort of do this exercise. You've talked a lot about this already, but let's make it compact. Finish this sentence for us, Eric. The future of crypto is?
Now.
Now.
It's now. It's immediate. It's now. Get in now. We are on the 1 yard line. Get in now. It's going to be the most transformational, monetary play of our generation. We're rewriting the rails. We're creating a new industry right this second. You had trains that revolutionized the whole world in the early 1900s. Then you had the automobile that revolutionized the world. The cryptocurrency is going to revolutionize the world. It's going to change the rules, and it's happening right now.
Right now. So the message you want to give is the future of crypto is now, right now. That's really powerful.
Future cryptos right now.
That's really, really powerful. Actually, as a matter of fact, our CEO in the opening speech, which you didn't have a chance to listen to, actually talked about the railroad and internet and all the sort of revolutionary platforms from before. And so people some people, or a lot of people, take crypto as they took the internet in 1995 and are laughing about it. But they should stop that and join now, right?
Well, I mean, SJ, go back to our childhood, right? We're roughly the same age. Go back to our childhood where, we were on, AOL, and you had the little dial-up, and you had the little dial that was going around with the strange sounds and everything else.
You've got mail.
And you've got mail, and you'd message your friend, but half the time your friend wasn't actually online, and so they'd be running home to try and get online, then you'd see their profile pop up when they're, right? And right now, you've got X, and you've got, messaging, and you've got WhatsApp, and you have Signal, and you've got, Facebook, and you've got 100 other message apps all over the world that can transmit instantly from device to device. You in Korea can message me in 2 seconds, and we can communicate. I mean, think about that, and that's what? That's in a period of 20 years? It's amazing. The advent is amazing, and crypto is growing faster than the growth of the internet.
Yeah.
So think about where we're going to be in a 20-year period of time, and that's why
everybody
the people who get
will
in now
have
are the people who are
update
going to
on
win.
their app, on their phones. Okay, so finally, what message would you like to give to the Korean blockchain community? Your final message to them before we let you go.
Well, listen, you're ahead of your time. You're courageous. All of us have been put through hell over the years for just believing in a technology that's incredible. And honestly, everybody in the room deserves an incredible, you're seeing it before everybody else sees it, and I think you're going to be awarded handsomely for doing so. So congratulations for being innovators. Congratulations for being at the Upbit conference. Congratulations for being on the front end of this trend. Congratulations for helping develop an industry that's still in its infancy, that's very much in its infancy, with so much growth ahead of it. It's your intuition that I think is going to pay off in dividends, and I think it's also your intuition that's going to change the world. The people in the conference there, the people in Hong Kong last week, the people at the Meta conference board meeting last week, the people in the United States who believe in cryptocurrency, we are changing the world, and you're seeing the biggest financial institutions on earth trying to catch up with all of us. And I don't think that any of us saw that coming, right? It's really remarkable, and it's fun to watch. And I know we're going to win the race, and they're not going to win the race because we're faster, we're better, we're smarter, and we were ahead of a trend that they didn't even see coming.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll hold on to what you promised. So you will be here next time. No Zoom, no screen, in person. The tall self of yours will be on this stage. I promise to
SJ,
book a bigger
you're
hotel.
Coming to visit me.
I'm visiting you. I'm visiting you in the U.S.
in New York
in October. I will see you in the U.S. first. Then you come.
And to our friends in Korea, we love you. It's been an honor, and we're over here making America great again. Hopefully we can make crypto great again as well, and we appreciate all of you. We love you very much, and it's a great honor for me to be with all of you today.
Ladies and gentlemen, give a big applause to Mr. Eric Trump. Thank you, Eric. See you soon.